Hey. Hi, everyone. How are you today? My name is Brian. Thank you for being here today. Thanks to Court and all the organizers. I have the privilege of delivering our final talk of the day, sitting in between you and beer. So, best place to be. So my talk is about AI and the future of enterprise applications. In my day job, I'm a futurist at Citrix. This talk is not about Citrix, though. It's about the industry and end-user computing in general. I think the takeaway, though, what you need to know about me is I've been doing end-user computing for 31 years. And so I've been through a few cycles and a few hype bubbles and these kinds of things. So for today, the purpose of my talk, I'm just telling you, based on my 30-whatever years of experience, how I see the next 5 years evolving. And obviously, that big part of that is based on artificial intelligence, as we're all talking about. So to me, when I look at artificial intelligence and the future of the enterprise applications and think about artificial intelligence in the enterprise in general, I see a lot of headlines like this. Companies are pouring billions into AI. It has yet to pay off. Nearly 8 in 10 companies report using generative AI, yet just as many report no significant bottom line impact. Or this study, MIT report 95% of generative AI pilots at companies are failing. This report, by the way, is highly discredited. Small sample size in confusing questions, but it does not stop people from putting it out everywhere and me from using it in my presentations because it's driving the narrative that there's not a lot of return on investment on AI, especially when you have corporate mandated AI or AI that's being led by IT departments. Because a lot of corporate mandated AI, what is it? It's that $500,000 AI-powered service desk that took 6 months to implement and still can't reset passwords consistently. The corporate delivered AI is that enterprise security AI tool that generates 10,000 false alerts per day that no one investigates. It's that predictive analysis infrastructure suite that needs a data scientist to tell you that servers fail when they're old. It's the AI assistant for customers that still cannot reliably answer, how do I make an appointment? And meanwhile, you are secretly worried that your chatbot is about to go viral. And I don't mean in the good way. So to me, when I think about AI in the enterprise and read these headlines around people making investments within AI, it's we're just throwing things out there. I don't know, a chatbot, we need an LLM, we need to customize something, we need to have customer support, HR. These are the things that IT departments are trying to build. I don't blame them. I mean, we all need an AI strategy, right? I think, maybe. I mean, the CEO says we need an AI strategy. It kind of rolls down, the CIO, the CISO, really, because everyone is trying to avoid being the blockbuster video in the story of Netflix. No one wants to be that company that missed the turn or missed the bubble, but it's hard to know exactly what's happening. When corporations are investing in AI, it's slow, it's the traditional way they do projects. And to me, this is missing the point. All this is missing the point, because I spent 31 years working on end-user computing. The users are the part here, like it's where the people are. And to me, it's not about all this back-end stuff that matters with AI. What's interesting in the enterprise to me is what these folks are doing. All the actual regular human workers, like all of us, we're using ChatGPT. We're using Claude. We're using Gemini. We're using, how's this in Dutch? We're using these tools every single day, right? Copilots, Mistral, whatever you're going to be using. All of the workers in their jobs, outside their jobs, are using ChatGPT and these tools. And then, of course, what are they using these tools to do? Well, I'm chatting with them by typing back and forth. Or maybe I'm chatting with them via voice by talking and listening back and forth. I'm asking these tools to brainstorm with me, analyze data, analyze documents, help me write papers and TPS reports and emails. I'm using these tools to help me create business strategy. I'm asking them advice, personal life advice, career advice, how to handle different things at work. I'm using these things to generate images, to generate materials, to generate videos now. Gosh, like what's next with all these tools? And where else are we going? I don't know. What's in the news? Now, there's AI browser wars apparently, right? Because every web browser manufacturer now has an AI engine bolted onto the side of it. That's sort of sitting on our shoulder, watching us, seeing what we're doing with the web and watching what we're doing. So all of these products, Chrome has Gemini, Edge has Copilot. There's Dia, the new browser company, which I think Perplexity is buying maybe. Perplexity has a Comet browser. No, maybe it's Automatic that's buying Dia. See, it's crazy right now. All these browser tools, we have a new browser war with all these little AI engines bolted onto the browser to sort of help us browse the web. So I look at what all these chatbots are doing, and I say, what's next? It's co-browsing, I guess, is the next feature we're adding. And really, I call these things chatbots. But like, are these chatbots? If you go into Claude, there's a little connectors button in Claude. Click that connectors button, and look at all the things. Just plus, plus, plus. Just connect it into existing other applications. Enter your API key, or enter your OAuth, or your password information. And look how big the scroll bar is here. There's all these connectors built into Claude today. There's all these connectors that can connect into desktop applications, so it can actually control and interact with the applications running on your desktop, built into Claude today. In fact, if you don't see an application on the list, you can add your own custom connector, which is you give it an MCP endpoint, give it your settings, your tokens, things like that. ChatGPT, same thing. ChatGPT just a few days ago introduced apps that plug right into the ChatGPT environment. So in my mind, referring to these tools as chatbots is not really the right word for them, because they do so much more than just chatting. It's not just a chatbot anymore. So if we're not calling these things chatbots, or I think we don't want to call them large language models. I mean, they are both of these things, but that's not really a word that encaptures everything that they do. What do you call these things? AI productivity platforms? Are they agent platforms? Is it an AI OS? Barf. But that's an actual term that people are suggesting these things are called. I don't really have a winner to pick here. I'd say these tools are becoming the gateway to work, though, for human knowledge workers. Whatever we call these things. All the human knowledge workers down here, these AI platforms are their gateway to work. And how are the workers interacting with these things? Well, again, I'm text. We're talking to it, we're typing to it, we're voice. These tools are observing the screen, they're watching our applications, they're generating video, they're generating audio. There's all different ways that I can interact with these platforms. And by the way, these platforms themselves, they are web apps. They are Windows and Mac native apps. They're iOS apps, they're Android apps. They're multimodal. Wherever I'm using, whatever devices I'm using, these AI platforms exist there. So all of us humans are really going to these AI platforms sort of as our main interface into work, with the idea is then that these platforms can go back and talk to the other applications that we need. So just like I showed you in Claude or in ChatGPT, where it can plug into modern connectors, so SaaS applications, anything with an API or an MCP server or something like that. The workers are talking to the AI platforms. The AI platforms then, it can connect into OneDrive and Google Drive and my email and my calendar and my spreadsheets, and I can ask it the questions and get data and that sort of thing. So that's great. So I've got me talking to my AI platform talking to all the applications I have. Well, like not all the applications I have, because not all applications have APIs and modern SaaS interfaces. What about apps that don't have those connectors? If I have an old web app, it's just a web app, it doesn't have that fancy new interface. Well, hey, look at this. Introducing ChatGPT Agent, bridging research and action. You know, we saw that all of these web browsers now have an AI engine bolted onto the side of them. So AI is watching our browser. Like I'm browsing the web, I'm talking to my AI, I'm browsing the web, I'm talking to my AI, I'm browsing the web, I'm talking to my AI. Like at some point, I'm like, yo, dudes, you two just can't do this without me? And that's what we're seeing right now. AI is moving from watching your browser to AI is operating your browser. This is exactly what ChatGPT Agent is. And this is a real thing. You may have seen demos of this. The demos, by the way, of an AI using a browser are super lame. Because you just see a video of like the cursor moving, it's typing, navigating some web page. You don't even know that it's an AI doing it versus like your mom. They have about the same visual acuity, I feel like. But it's not for an interesting video, but the AI now can absolutely operate your browser and move the mouse and click around and do things. That's ChatGPT Agent. Claude has these. All the platforms are building these things. So if AI is operating my browser, that's great. That means as human workers, I'm talking to my AI platform. The AI platform is connecting to modern applications via APIs or MCP. If it doesn't have a modern application interface, well, that's great. It's got a web browser interface, so then the AI can operate the web browser for me. So now that takes care of all that. OK, what about the apps that don't have connectors and that don't have web interfaces? How do I deal with those applications? Well, what else is out there? Oh, now we have the computer using agents. Like any app that is not a web app and not a modern app, that means it's like AppV? It's MSIX. I mean, this is just like a Windows desktop app. Yeah, that's the next step. So now I look at these computer using agents and look, OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, Claude, everyone is building these computer using agents that can actually process the computer screen, observe the screen, operate the mouse, operate the keyboard, and manage their way through the desktop. This is something that is also real today. How good are these agents? Well, there are benchmarks for this. There's an open source benchmark. This goes on Linux, Mac, and Windows called OS World. The way OS World works, it's a basket of 369 tasks that are described with like regular human English. And so one task is go on the desktop, grab the spreadsheet, open it here, total the results on the second tab, and email it to Tim. And that's a task. And there's 368 other tasks like that, changing backgrounds, operating files, downloading, zipping, moving things around. And there's disk images you can use, and you can build an agent, and you basically test it, and how many tasks does it do successfully. This benchmark came out in April 2024, so 18 months ago. At the time, by the way, they had humans operate this, and humans get about 72%. So that's probably like the average human. I assume that all of us would basically get 100 because we're computer nerds, but most people, I get it, they're confused at things. But 72% is kind of our, average, if you want to call it that, worker for here. So this is April 2024, 18 months ago. Where were the AI agents? They scored 12%. And that's everyone said, oh, they're never going to be able to do this, and it gets complicated. It does. That was 18 months ago. So just move us along to August. 61%. Not too bad. Of course, it's October. It's not August. Now we're at 70% as of last week. I don't know if it was a sound that came out of your mouth or your stomach, but the sound that I heard over here is the correct that is the correct response to this. Oh. What happens when these things are as good as humans? What happens when they're better than humans? What happens when they score 100%? And it's interesting because this benchmark is just parsing the AI's ability to use the computer. It doesn't know what to do on the computer. It's not necessarily writing your emails or doing all your business analysis or doing whatever it is you need to do. But it assumes it can use the computer good enough that I can say, grab the sheet, do this, copy this, look over here, open up Workday, and it knows how to navigate and knows how to do those things. So I've got computer using agents that are a thing. These are always getting faster, by the way. One of the downsides to these today is they're kind of slow. They take a screenshot, basically, analyze the screenshot, and then make a movement or make an action, then take another screenshot and do that again. That's why today's CAPTCHAs are like dragging the puzzle piece and they time how fast you can do it because the computer using agent is going to be really slow. But do you remember also self-driving cars in the year 2005? Like it was slow, crawl, stop, slow, crawl, a little bit, little bit, little bit. So of course, as technology evolves, these are going to get faster. There's also more specialized models. There's now models that are, instead of being general models to sort of classify every single image in the entire universe, it's made to understand screenshots and pick out navigation elements and make path planning for how to click and how to navigate. And what's nice with those models is they can process a full HD screen in less than 30 milliseconds, which means they can do it in real time, like less than 30 frames a second. So they can actually process the screen. And so we're getting to the point where AI's being able to operate a screen in something approaching real time is sort of on the horizon for us. So going back to this sort of diagram from before, I got my workers. They're using the AI platform. The AI platform itself is plugging into my modern apps via APIs. It's plugging into my old web applications by just controlling the browser. And then it's plugging into my even older applications that might require a desktop environment via using one of these computer-using agents. And so to me, this is kind of the landscape. Like, these are really the three types of apps. Like, it's modern apps, it's web apps, or it's legacy apps. And the AI platform is able to access all three of them via different technologies. I kind of draw like a line in here to sort of separate like the personal from the corporate side of things. And by the way, like where exactly this line goes and which counts as personal and what's work and where that line is going to be kind of different to everyone. But the reason I draw that line here like this is there is a separation from us as workers with what we feel like is our personal AI and then what we need that AI to do, for example, at work. Like, most of us use something like ChatGPT, and we feel confident with it. I mean, we use ChatGPT, we're telling it things that we wouldn't necessarily tell it work. Like, it's my ChatGPT, and I trust that it's, I pay for a subscription, I've got the security set that it doesn't learn on my models, and I feel like I'll tell it everything. Maybe I'll tell it a crazy work story, like, I was just asked to do this, and I don't understand it at all. What should I do here? Which I might not put into the work AI, the work controls, but I'll do my personal one to be like, yo, what's up? I don't know what to do at all right now. So it's kind of like with our personal devices, like when you have a personal cell phone, you feel more confident with like all your text and all your images on there. But if it's a work-owned phone that the work had everything for, you want to keep it more separated. So it's the same kind of idea, is that for us as the human users of the platforms, we're using ChatGPT or Claude or whichever platform we've chosen, or multiple ones that we choose, and we're kind of telling it everything. We have no shame, we use it for everything, we trust it for everything. But then when it comes time to doing the work side of things, we want to take a more measured approach. So the reason I say that is I don't envision in the future that work necessarily is giving you the chatbot that's your primary chatbot in everyday life. It's kind of like with devices, with work-owned laptops or personal, or work-owned phones or personal. I can envision that maybe work gives you a chatbot, and maybe that chatbot talks to your personal chatbot, so you've got like the work persona and the personal persona, but I don't necessarily envision that the company is going to hand you a chatbot and you're going to use that for everything in your world. There will be some separation there. And the reason I mention this separation between the personal and the work is because if you think about managing this, like how we manage end-user computing, how we manage users and Windows and VDI and applications and all these kinds of things, in this sense, it doesn't change too much. If I'm thinking about things from the company standpoint, I'm managing modern apps and APIs, I'm managing web applications, I'm managing existing Windows applications. This is sort of the way that I manage the workspace and the way that I've managed it for the past, 20 years or so. I talk about the workspace. Like, what is a workspace? It's your apps and their data, regardless of whether it's a web app or Windows app or SaaS or whatever. I've got applications, I've got data. That's part of my workspace. I have the identity of the person doing the work. Usually it's me with my login ID. That's my identity that is needed to use these apps and this data. I have my security boundaries, my permissions, and the boundaries of the work that I'm doing. And then I have the context. And the context is, like, what am I trying to do? Which files, which applications and data do I need? And what goal am I trying to achieve? So apps, data, identity, security, context, all this together equals the workspace. And of course, the workspace itself, this is what we've been building for the past, as I said, 20 years with VDI or web workspaces or mobile apps or whatever that's going to be. The workspace itself, though, it doesn't do anything unless you attach a worker to it. And for the past, forever in IT, the worker has been a human worker. And now that we have AI, we're saying, well, that worker could be an AI worker or a human worker, or an AI and a human worker together. So again, from the standpoint of IT, it doesn't change too fundamentally much. A worker is connected to my workspace and doing work, and that worker has identity and context and security and boundaries. I don't even know if I necessarily care if that worker is a human worker or an AI worker. People worry about ChatGPT operating a mouse and operating a computer, and they worry about the things that large language models have. It might hallucinate. What if it's biased? What if it, RM-RFs my whole system? Fair questions, but you can say the same thing for humans. Humans can be biased. Humans can delete things. Humans can make mistakes. So we have guardrails to protect us from humans. We can have guardrails to protect our environments from the AI as well. So as I think about managing a workspace and who my workers are, I don't think it changes that much. That doesn't mean that AI has no impact. I'm thinking it's just more of the impact is not in this way. Because if I think about my workspace, as I said, it could be a Windows machine, it could be a web browser, it could be a mobile device. Your individual workers will be connected to multiple workspaces at the same time. I'm logged into my laptop, I'm logged into my phone. The same can be true for my AI platform that I'm using. So as a worker, I log into my AI platform. The AI platform itself logs into maybe my workspace and does the work on my behalf, which again is maybe SaaS applications directly, computer using agents, browsers, whatever that may be. Of course, from the user standpoint, when the user goes home, they close the lid on their laptop, whatever local devices they have disappear. The AI now is no longer able to access that unless that workspace also is reflected back in the cloud somewhere, and then the AI can, off it goes. In fact, I think I was here, I'm pretty sure it was here in Den Hozenbach. I don't know, somewhere there was a VMUG meeting in the Netherlands last year, and I declared the year of VDI. Which I sort of said as a joke because I never said any year was going to be the year of VDI, but I kind of joked that the year we're in now is the year of VDI because, hey, now that AI can use computers, now that AI can navigate desktops, I actually have a reason for every single worker to have a VDI desktop. Like maybe I didn't need a VDI desktop myself before. I could do everything I needed on my laptop, but if I want AI to log on as me and I want it to work when I'm not working, yeah, go ahead, log into the cloud, and once I log off, you can continue. So to me, the idea of building our workspace so it can be accessible from anywhere, at any time, all these things we've been trying to do for decades, now actually has a secondary use case because these AIs themselves are able to access that workspace. And the reason I think about this, when I started this talk today, I was talking about how I don't believe that IT-led AI is really where the innovation is happening. And I don't mean this in a negative way. Of course, applications that have AI capabilities are the latest and greatest technology. So yes, every application you buy today has Copilot functionality or some machine learning algorithms or some kind of AI built into the product itself. But that's not fundamentally changing the way that work happens. It's just like, that's just the latest technology. 10 years ago, mobile apps, every app also had a mobile app. 20 years ago, every app also had a web application. So AI inside applications that we're buying is not fundamentally changing the way that work is happening. It's the individual workers who are bringing these AI platforms and using these platforms within their jobs. That's the area where AI change is really impacting companies. And the reason I like this, and the reason I like thinking about an AI worker and a human worker in the same way, and the reason I like thinking about AI workers and human workers using the same workspace is because that's the easiest way to actually integrate AI with your company in a way that actually impacts things. When your AI agents use the same platform as your human workers, it's very simple for continuity and ease of implementation, right? Because the AI platforms, they can gradually have more and more access to your applications. You can try them with one application here or one application there, using your existing applications and your existing processes. Any worker who's not really sure how they work, they can see these things operating. They see them using the screen, or they can watch a session recording video of what it did. They can see the outputs. They can see the applications that it's opening and closing. This also allows individual workers to experiment and to test and say, I wonder if AI can do this, or I wonder if it can do that, or just try and experiment with different things. And it allows us as a company to use all of our existing security, all of our management tools, our auditing, our updating, our training processes, everything that we built as an IT department, we don't have to throw away. It's not like you're building in a brand new platform that's coming from scratch. It's no, all of the applications and processes and workspace and security that I use with all my workers today that are humans will also apply to my AI workforce. So everything that you do, application updates, the way you train both your end users and your admins, the way you monitor your environment, the way you manage change and updates in your environment, how your help desk operates, troubleshooting, how you audit that environment, optimization, all of that, if AI is using the same system that your human workers are using today, all of that ends up being the same. And so my belief is that this is the way that AI is going to enter the enterprise as individual workers. And you think about all your workers within the organization, and we think of them as personas or profiles or whatever, and they've got different application sets, they've got different devices they use, they've got different VM sizes and work patterns. They're all going to use AI in their own ways as well. AI is very personal to people. Some people love ChatGPT, some people like Claude, some people build a whole bunch of custom GPTs and custom system prompts. Some people do not. Just like people use different laptops and different phones and use things all differently, the same is true with AI. So all of the workers in their own capacity are going to start using their own AI tools. As they use those more and more, they will expect those tools to be able to access their work applications, regardless of the technology, whether it's SaaS or desktop or web or whatever that works out to be. So we go back to this workspace. And the workspace now, as I said, kind of has two workers attaching to it, right? I've got my human workers that are attaching, and I have my AI workers. And both of these worker types are using this same workspace. And I guess, the way I have it drawn here, I really do think of human workers and AI workers, but more recently I've started to evolve the thinking a little bit, and maybe it's not like an either or. It's not like a human is connecting or an AI is connecting. I think over time it's going to kind of change the order a little bit. So the AI platform ends up sort of sitting in the middle. So the human workers, as I said, are going to increasingly more and more just work with their AI platforms, and then the AI platform itself, if it needs something from a back-end application or data source, it's going to talk to that data source in the back end. So I've got kind of two interface points, right? Like my applications to the AI, and then the AI to my humans. So how are the humans actually using the AI? I think that user interface can be really whatever the human wants. And I think this is really critical because it could be a human, pardon me, it could be a keyboard, it could be a mouse, it could be a laptop. Like the way that we interact with AI today, there's a lot of typing. We're typing to it, it's typing back. It's showing things in the canvas. It could be a voice chat, though. It could be a voice chat with buds as I'm walking down the street, or it could be a voice chat like with an actual avatar, where it's like deep faking a virtual coworker that is the sort of like pixel embodiment of the AI that I'm dealing with. And again, this is the same AI, right? Like ChatGPT, I'm talking to it in my ear until I get back to my desk, and then I'm typing to it. Maybe the interface, as I said, earbuds while mobile, maybe it's casting that interface to whatever device I have, whatever phone, screen, goggles, whatever I have, that's what the user interface is. So people ask about, like, oh, what about those Meta glasses? Is that the future of interfaces? Sure. I mean, there is a use case where having glasses and words floating in front of you might be something that you want. But that doesn't replace TVs. It doesn't replace, I think we're still going to have time where we want to type and sit at a screen with a keyboard and visualize what I'm doing. But I don't think when we do that we're using a traditional application. I think the application is my AI environment. And if I need a spreadsheet, it's going to draw the cells that I need on demand for me on whatever device I happen to be using. I can zoom in and zoom out and just tell it or roll the mouse or whatever that I want to zoom in and zoom out, and it will redraw at a different size. So it really becomes that the actual user interface is being generated by the AI platform on demand in whatever format the worker wants at that time. Now, if I look back to this interface between the application workspace and the AI platform, again, this also can be lots of different mechanisms. So whatever makes sense. Like maybe the AI platform is pixel scraping. If it has to connect to an old legacy Windows workspace and I don't have a modern interface for anything, just do it like the way we use HDX or RDP today. And now the consumption now is not your human worker. The consumption end is an AI bot that is just reading the HDX protocol and looking at the screen primitives and understanding what the screen is. Maybe it's sending Windows primitives down. Maybe it's controlling a web browser. Some of these ones that use the web browsers actually script the pixels off the web browsers. Other ones just access the DOM directly, right? Like, why do I need a web browser to render a web page into pixels that humans can see, and then the AI is going to take those pixels and deconstruct them back into logic? It's like, hey, just give me all the source code of the website under the hood and all the JavaScript code, and like let the AI handle it on its own in a way that makes most sense. So it can pixel peep, as they say, if it needs to. It can access the DOM or web stuff directly. And then, of course, it might be using modern APIs if it's modern applications or things like that. So the user interface here, over time, starts to evolve. Because I could look at, like, this is a user interface for humans, whereas this is the user interface for AIs. Like, AIs are going to need API interfaces or something like that. Humans are going to need voice or text or some kind of pixels. And so this is kind of where we're going, where everything out of my workspace is no longer built for humans. Everything out of my workspace is built for AIs to consume, and then the AIs, if there is a human interface needed, the AIs will generate that human interface. So I think this is where we're going. There's going to be a transition period, though, because we're going to be in this kind of half-in. This is like a car that looks like a carriage, right? Because that's what shaped things were when motors came out, roughly. So we're going to be in this transition period where we're kind of half in and half out. And that sounds awful, but it's also like really good job security for us. I was joking like Tim about like AppV, and like, hey, the uncertainty of like half transitioning is really good for all of our careers. And I'll use an example of this. It's like, let's go back to the 1990s when Windows applications were stuck in the office. So like before Citrix and all that, you had Windows apps, and you had a desktop and a LAN, and that was your Windows apps. And then, mid-90s, the web was announced, and remember, the web was going to kill Windows. Because in the 1990s, the web was the future, right? Why was the web the future? I could access an app instantly from any device without having to install it first on that device, right? I could access an app from any device. It didn't have to be Windows. It could be Mac or Linux. I could access my apps from anywhere, not just in the office. With web apps, I could update an app once on the server, and then everyone just hit refresh, and they got the latest version of the app. I had good application performance over slow connections. You actually had better security, because no data was stored on the endpoints on these web apps. It's all stored on the back end. This is the advantages of why like Windows is going to be dead, and web apps are better than Windows apps. Yes, please. This is amazing. How do I get this? It's simple. All you have to do is rewrite all your applications from scratch. No problem. So Windows is still a thing 25 years later, because it is, like, this is theoretically a better, cleaner solution. But of course, as we know, corporations don't do the best, cleanest, like theoretical best things. They do what works. If you have current applications and they're operating and they're fine, you've got 30 years of development into all the edge cases. Sure, it's maybe theoretically not the best, most cleanest way to do it, but like, why? Why change? And so corporations, there's some apps. Obviously, the consumer side of things changes very quickly. Like, consumers don't really have like dedicated Windows apps that they need anymore. That all sort of transition. But corporations, we all still use Windows. And in fact, this is why Citrix, of course, exists in the first place, because Citrix in this environment was like, hey, wait a minute. Instead of rewriting all your apps, what if we could give you all these advantages, but not have to rewrite all your apps? So 1990s, why Citrix was the future. And now instead of just rewriting all your apps from scratch, just use Citrix and you're done. And of course, Citrix started that in the 90s. Now you've got VDI, remote desktop, all those ecosystems. But the point was, this was a crazy hack. Like, I remember when I first learned about Citrix in the mid-1990s, I didn't really want to dedicate my career to it, because obviously Windows is dead. Everything's going to be web someday. And it's like, well, I guess I'll do the Citrix thing as a transition, get us through Y2K, and then we'll have, we can finally kill Windows and be done with this thing. But it turns out this was actually fine, right? Like we use Citrix as a modernization wrapper to take existing applications that have modern needs, and we use that as a middleware to sort of add these modern needs to our existing applications. And that same concept is what's going to happen in this next phase moving forward as well. So if I go back to the drawing from before, and I said, yeah, the human interface is sitting in between the AI and the humans, but the back-end workspace doesn't need to have a human interface. It only needs an interface for AI. But I think this is something that's like going to be eventually, because for now, we're going to have both, right? Like this image is more of probably appropriate for today, where my human workers there's a human UI to my applications directly. There's also a human UI to my AI platform. And then the AI platform is, as you saw, more and more. It's got plugins for direct modern applications, browser control, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like this is actually pretty close to what we're using today. And then I look at these AI platforms, and as I said, if I think about them as using existing human interfaces, well, that's great. They can use the human AI also. So if I think about personifying the AI into like some kind of human-like thing that's able to access these, like I mentioned, AI can use a browser. AI can control your computer. So it's using the human interface, it's just as the AI. So I could really draw another purple arrow here. So a human UI is being consumed by AI. Human UI is being consumed by the humans. The humans are using that human UI for the AI and the actual back-end applications themselves. But this is a very temporary thing, because it's kind of funny. We're in this transition period, right? Because not every application has an AI interface, and not every application need or every workspace environment, like AI is not good enough to do everything yet. So we have to build these human-style interfaces, like I said, computer using and browser using, as a temporary workaround, which is sort of just a temporary workaround to get us where we need to be. Like we have a catch-22 as I need to have these human workarounds temporarily so that my AI can remove the need for human elements on these things. But we make these things look like humans and act like humans because that's where everything is today. We talk about like, why do humanoid robots use the same form factor as humans? It's because we live in a human world. If you want a robot that can do anything a human can do, make it about 2 meters tall and about 100 kilograms and have a 8-hour battery life, and have it arms and fingers. And now I don't need a specialized robot. If I want this robot to drill, I have a drill. If I want it to iron, I have an iron. If I want it to vacuum, I have a vacuum. So I allow the robot to use all the tools that I already have, and now it can do everything I need in my environment. So taking us back to the enterprise environment, it's the same kind of thing. All these workers today are dealing with the AI platforms directly, and I'm asking questions and doing brainstorming and all that kind of stuff. But when I need it to do something on my behalf, it probably is going to have the best chance of using my existing tools that I already have today, which is my desktops, my logons, my authentication, moving my mouse, seeing my applications, operating the browser, logging on as me, doing all these kinds of things. So for today, that means, again, from the IT standpoint, it doesn't change too much the way we think about things. I'm still managing apps. I've got modern apps that I subscribe to, I've got web apps that I'm managing myself, and I've got desktop and legacy applications in Windows environments that I'm managing. So here, again, it doesn't change too much. These apps are being used by a human or an AI, but it doesn't make too much of a difference. So I understand the apps. I understand the humans. There's this weird thing in here, though, is like the AI platform itself. How do I hold that? Because AI is an application, I guess. If I'm managing applications, ChatGPT is like just another application. It runs somewhere. It has access to data. It's got updates and security holes and CVEs, and I have to manage it and manage access and all that kind of stuff. But it's also a consumer of my applications. Like the AI is sort of a weird, it's part app and part end user. So when I think about how I manage that from an IT standpoint, it's a little bit blurry. And the reason I mention that is because what's so interesting about here is that the AI platforms have the ability to generate new applications. And they can generate them very quickly, they can be very dirty, and they can be ephemeral, and you don't even know that it happened. And as an example, so I'm not talking about vibe coding here. I'm talking about like, hey, as an example, I could say, hey, AI, get the spreadsheet from OneDrive and update the latest numbers. So I've told my AI to do something. And then that AI is going to, I assume, go do it, right? Like, hey, it's got 70% on the computer using ability. Next month, it'll be 80%. It can use a browser. A lot of these models, there's other controlling models that, it's like a series of models. So there's one model that sort of takes your task, plans out, okay, I need to either write a Python app for this, or I need to connect in here, or do that. And so what happens, when I ask the AI to do this, I'm not directing the AI specifically. Maybe in the early days, I might be saying that, go to this file location, find this folder. It's like when you have a new employee who's, well, new, and they don't exactly know everything, you're kind of being more specific with them, but as they learn more, you can just say, oh, get the TPS report and update it, and they know where it's saved and what you mean by that. So we're gonna see the same thing with AI. And what's interesting here is, if I look at my humans, and I ask the AI, like, hey, update that OneDrive report and send it to Tim, it's gonna, I'm asking the AI to do that. And then how's the AI doing that in the back end? I don't care as the worker. It doesn't matter to me. If the AI needs access to my desktop to complete it, go right ahead. You know how to access my desktop. If it needs a browser, if I can do it directly, I don't want to be in the business as a regular worker. I do not want to be in the business of micromanaging the AI and telling it every single little step to do. There's a lot of that is how AI works today, because the AI is not that good at figuring out things on its own. You see a lot of this, like there's a lot of examples of various application environments that are similar to like RPAs, the robotic process automation, where you're training an AI. I'm showing the AI, do this, every morning I do this, then do this, then do this, and I'm holding the hand of the AI and I'm showing the AI how to do things. That's fine if you have repeatable tasks. But most of what we do in knowledge worker land is not repeatable tasks. Like if a task was that repeatable, I probably was already going to be using an RPA package for the past decade, and this is not a new thing I'm doing today. So the idea that in order for AI to be good for knowledge workers, I have to train my knowledge workers on how to train the AI and have them step through step by step, absolutely not. That is not happening. The workers today who are more advanced and more nerdy are going to do that. But your regular rank and file workers are not going to be training their AIs on how to do things. The AIs will get better and better and figuring out how to do things essentially good enough on their own. And then the knowledge workers are just going to ask the AI to do whatever it has to do. And the AI is going to figure out the right way to do it, and it's going to do it. And now, the question is, when this happens, is that an app? How do you define an app? I mean, it's these things I'm asking the AI to do. I should point out also, we saw it just last week, also, a couple weeks ago, ChatGPT Pulse is basically ChatGPT doing this on its own, too. So the ChatGPT environment, it's watching you, it's watching what you do, it's watching what you ask for, it's watching what you query, and it's going to start basically building a feed. Well, this is a feature that's deployed. This exists today. It has a feed now inside your ChatGPT environment, but it's generated by ChatGPT based on what it thinks you might need. If it has access to your calendar, it'll pull your calendars in. It'll do when you should leave, all these things. Like kind of how, well, it was Cortana, I guess, like Office Copilot in Outlook can look at your calendar and look at these things like that. Imagine that across all your applications. And that's real today. That's built in the product today. So these environments, whether it's something you're asking for or whether it's something the environment just builds on its own, it's almost like it's creating its own applications. And that's what I say, like, we're here at an app management conference. And I used to think that when we, when I was doing Citrix projects back in the old days, there was always like a 10-to-1 ratio of users to apps. Like if I had 5,000 employees in the company, there's probably 500 apps that IT would support somewhere. Every 1/10 as many users as apps. But now, with the ability for AI to just do things, AI is creating applications for all this. My numbers might invert. It might not be 10 users per app. It could be 10 apps per user. Because now every single employee, every single worker you have becomes an accidental citizen developer. This is not vibe coding, right? We know vibe coding, it's fun, but that's like something computer nerds do when they want to write a new application. This is stuff that like our moms would do. This is saying, hey, ChatGPT, do my expense reports, my photos, are in the receipts, it's for my trip to Utrecht, check my email, and let me know if you need anything. And it goes, and by the way, do my expenses every Monday. And now I have an app that's just running, and I haven't even thought about, is this an app? But is this an app? I mean, they're different than regular apps. They're ephemeral. Maybe this app only exists for a few seconds. Maybe it exists for a week. Maybe it only runs for a few seconds, but runs every week. Maybe workers start trading them with each other. These apps, like, they might be long-lasting, they might be disappeared, but they don't have the same life cycle as traditional apps. They're undocumented. Like, they're documented in the sense that you can look at the prompt history of what the worker was asking for, but what's the app doing? What security protocols are in place? How's it handling the data? Who knows? These apps are highly interconnected and tangled. This one's talking to this website and going over here and found this API and does this desktop thing, and who's talking to who? What are the dependencies in place? What version of Claude is it? Does it work on your enterprise account or your personal account? Who knows? These applications are constantly evolving and never static, even if you have the same prompt. And the same prompt runs every week. Well, ChatGPT might have version upgrades in the ensuing week, and that prompt generates new code. Actually, even if ChatGPT doesn't change, the prompt generates new code. Maybe one time it's running in Python, and the next time it's running in Rust. Why did it pick that? I don't know, but that's there. These apps are invisible also. Like, you don't really know about them. You get the concept. It's like dark matter. There's like circumstantial evidence that apps exist because things are being done that workers asked for, but I don't really know who, what, why, when, where, how exactly it's happening. This is madness. This is not shadow. People talk about shadow AI or shadow IT. Shadow IT is like the dark side, assuming there's like a light side also of this stuff happening above board. I call this more like alternate universe IT. This is just crazy town. This has no relation to the way that IT and app management and anything we do today works. And it gets even crazier. So Claude, what is that? Okay, 9th of September, so 1 month ago. Claude, and then just last week, I think, September 29th, Microsoft has announced Vibe working, introducing agent mode and Office agent in Microsoft 365 Copilot. This Claude can now create and edit files. Has anyone used this or seen this? So you all know the first time you used Copilot in Microsoft Excel, and we're very sad because you knew what you wanted it to do and you knew what it could do, and there's a big delta there. But we thought, well, Excel is important. Excel as an application is always going to be around. Copilot is going to get better and let me interact with Excel in new ways. And then it turns out Excel files are just XML that anything can read. So Anthropic trained Claude on like all the Excel files on the internet, and guess what? It now talks Excel directly. It's like the protocol droid with 3 million languages, right? Where it can just write Excel files. So you don't need Excel anymore. You just drop your Excel file into Claude, ask it what's on the third tab, and it draws the third tab for you. It'll just render it right there on the side of the AI app. I can ask it to do this, build a new spreadsheet. I don't even have to start with a spreadsheet. I say, just build me a spreadsheet that does this, this, this. I want this, I want this. Here's the data. And it's just working. When you're done, you're like, oh, give me the file, by the way. And out pops an Excel file. Same with Word, all these things. So it's like, it turns out the application only exists to like manipulate the data and the files. Well, if the AI has a true enough understanding of the applications and the data and the data and the files, I don't need the actual application portion of this. So even the concept of apps starts to go away, which is really crazy. And also not that far. Like, to me, the takeaway for this is, how do you deal with this? Fundamentally, you got to manage the working environment. You can't manage the apps. So for example, you cannot vet 10,000 applications. like every new app that is created that might only exist for a few seconds, the way that you approve and determine if apps are okay and certify them, you cannot do that anymore. You cannot vet 10,000 applications, but you can secure the workspace where they operate. So maybe I don't care specifically on what this application does. I just make sure it has a secure working environment with boundaries and guardrails and the proper audits, so it can kind of go nuts within its little protected environment. In the future, you cannot document every workflow, but you can monitor and record what's happening in these environments. You cannot approve every single automation, but you can control what data and what systems these automations can access. You cannot train workers on every single app, but you can provide guardrails to allow the workers and the apps they create to work in safe environments. So it's changing our thinking of not managing, securing, monitoring, observing apps. We're taking a step back and we're looking at the workspace, at the working environment, at the environment where these applications, where these AIs are operating. That's what we manage, and that's where we focus. So I break this into like kind of near-term and like far-term changes to our thinking. So for the near-term changes, okay, number one, we have to accept that there are these new economics of applications. And I say that like when creating an app costs less than the meeting to discuss creating it, everything changes. We have that now. I had a few conversations out in the hallway where if you're doing vibe coding and you can spend a day building a pretty functional application, and sure, a lot of professional developers say, well, the code is garbage and it's not secure. Yeah, people don't care. We bought a lot of commercial products, by the way, that were garbage code and not secure. Our users are certainly not going to care. But it's interesting because apps have an economic life cycle. Like you spend time investing, whether it's an app you buy or an app you build internally or an app you build yourself. You plan it out, you map it, you write the code, you test. It's a lot of front-loaded work to have this value. There's this bucket of code, and those dynamics go away. The code generation is free. The value now is not in the code. So the whole way we think about economics of an application is going away. This means that we have to redefine what an application even is, right? Because of what I had in the previous slide, it could be ephemeral. It could be something that was different every time, that we don't understand the security or where it's going. We have to shift from the application level to environment level security. So that's what I was mentioning earlier. We're securing the environment, not the individual applications. We need some like radical observability. I don't love this, but it's the best we have. Like you hear about how AI does crazy things every once in a while. So just like put very tight guardrails, maybe turn on session recording, maybe use other AI to analyze the session recordings or timestamps and compare things. But for now, we need to have like a short leash on the AI, guardrails around what it can do, and we need to be running this in environments that are strictly observed. So this might be, again, an instance to run it on like a secure lockdown VDI container or something versus your random laptop where you turn around for a second and it's like bought everything on Amazon and it's now shipping to your house. We need supported path for citizen development. So again, I'm not talking about workers vibe coding. I mean workers are just asking the AI to do things. As soon as it has access to Google Docs and OneDrive in the calendar, they're going to say, oh, do this, do this, do this. What if it doesn't work? What do they need to know about that? We need to understand that citizen development is not going to be our nerd users. It's going to be all of our workers just asking AI to do things for them. And we need to make sure we can provide an environment that supports that. We need to prepare for the application life cycle to hyper-compress, right? So instead of like now it might be planned for an hour, it runs for 20 minutes, and then it's gone again. And that's one whole life cycle. So whatever we do for our policies, our support, our security, whatever we're building here has to also apply even if an application lifecycle is only 4.5 seconds. And then finally, recognize the value shift. This just ties back to the first one. The economics of applications are shifting, which means the value is shifting. The code is no longer valuable. The code is free. What's valuable is knowing what that code needs to do. So it's like the product manager side of things. Like I have this need, I'm this worker, I've got this system and this data, I need it over here, it has to do this. Here's the guardrails, here's the checks, here's what you need. The value is in the definition of what needs to happen. The actual work, today it's Python, tomorrow it's Rust. The code that's generated has no value. It's what the code is specified for, and that's a big change. So these are things that are all happening like kind of near term, longer term thinking. I think the things that are changing. So apps were designed for humans. All the apps we have today are made for human consumption. That is not the case in the future. AI doesn't need access to apps. It doesn't need apps. It needs access to the data. It needs capabilities. It needs the capabilities to use tools to manipulate the data, but the AI does not need an application. Case in point, how Claude basically, created a version of Excel that runs in Claude against real Excel files. We don't need the app. They just need access to the data. The traditional UI is going away. Apps are going to evolve from human-centric UIs today into AI-centric UIs. And again, there's going to be older applications that might be running on some remote Citrix server for the next 35 years on some little server that's in the corner that's never been rebooted, and some process connects to it once a day and uses the HDX protocol and is maneuvering some old application. But that's going to be further and farther the exception. When you have this environment of workers to AI to applications, or to workers AI to your workspace, there's only one app. It's the AI platform. And that is showing everything else is presented to the worker comes from there. Context is the killer feature moving forward. Whoever masters this wins, right? The context of understanding what is trying to be done. I have this data and this workspace and this identity and these security parameters, and here's what I'm trying to do. And so I need to, whether it's a one-shot, I can just have it one shot and done, or build a tool, write an application, understanding that context across devices, application profiles, data types, that's going to be the big key. And then the fourth one is IT is going to transform. I think IT is transforming from what I call like application management, kind of what we're all doing today, to capabilities orchestration, right? And we see this already. I mean, look at these AI platforms, how many capabilities they have by using different tools and using different models and stringing these together. It's understanding what capabilities the tools have that our workers are using, and then how we need to constrain those and orchestrate those capabilities. So that's not just locking down. It's not just security and observability. It's also enabling these things to be able to be used by our workers and to do what those workers need done. So we're not focusing on managing and securing applications. We're focusing on orchestrating the capabilities of the different tools that these workers are doing. So my final thoughts to walk away with on this is your job managing applications has an expiration date. It might be far enough in the future that that's okay, but the mindset of managing applications is going away. Now, the good news is your skills in managing digital workspaces are more valuable than ever. Context matters. Understanding what the worker wants, what tools they're using, where do these tools run, how do they operate, how does all the infrastructure work, how does all the security work, all of that is very, very important. And this is going to be very valuable for us. There is a crisis in the working world right now about younger workers coming up into corporations and how that's trained. There's a lot of big issues in that world. Our issues are different, though. Those of us sitting in our room, we have expertise in certain areas. We will be continued to have value by understanding that all these AIs that are created, all these applications that are created, they have to run somewhere, they have to be secured somewhere. So for me, the big change going forward is just a mindset. Start thinking about capabilities, not about applications. And the fourth thing I'd say, the final thought, I'd say this to all the talks, this is happening whether you like it or not. It doesn't matter what you think. This is happening. The technical capabilities of ChatGPT and these platforms are mind-blowing. Every few weeks, they release new capabilities. Every few weeks, benchmarks are crushed. It's like almost once a quarter, you have something that was going to maybe be fixed in 18 months or solved in 18 months is now solved today. And it happens in 2 months instead of 18 months. It is mind-blowing. These changes are happening whether we like it or not. So anyway, that's kind of my map. The final little thing I have is just like some links. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I blog about this stuff. I have a website, BMAD. It's like a short version of my name. There's no content on here. All my blogs are on Citrix, but on BMAD, I have links to talks and like blog posts and stuff like that that's out there defined. So anyway, every day I'm writing and thinking about this kind of stuff. I'm reinvigorated about end-user computing. It's like so fascinating now because of this technology. It's like the most interesting point, I think, in my entire career of 31 years so far. It's very fun times ahead. It's very, very interesting. I think there's a lot of work for us to do. But that's my quick view on where we're going with applications in the next 5 years. Thanks for your time.